Comics in the combat zone. Comics in the combat zone. Usually we make you laugh, but now we're watching guys get stabbed with light tubes.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the brand new pro wrestling podcast, Comics in the Combat Zone. I'm Jordan Ducharme.
And I'm Ben Stead.
And this is the first episode. Ben, very exciting stuff here, talking about maybe the most niche, but still worldwide popular, I don't know if that's fair, indie wrestling company, CZW.
Yeah, I think it's definitely achieved like a weird mythic status, especially in like recent years, especially as like the name has sort of exploded, yet people will be like, yeah, I've never seen a CZW match. But yeah, I think people know of it and kind of know a lot. They probably know a lot more lore than they think they do about CZW, and then
I think people's general knowledge about CZW are viral clips they've seen.
Yeah.
Things like YouTube clips, like Nick Mondo going off the roof through the thing. I think people know of Nick Gage, obviously.
Yeah.
What's that called? Beyond the Ring?
Dark Side of the Ring.
Dark Side of the Ring, sorry.
And then he showed up in AEW, of course.
Yeah, and of course guys like the Necro Butcher from The Wrestler. But CZW, if I was to make a comparison, it's almost like what ECW was to like Jackass, sort of like cool self-destruction. CZW sort of was to like bum fights.
Yeah.
Where it was like, this should be illegal maybe. I don't know if this is like, right, they're clearly untrained.
Yeah, it's like bum fights if they somehow got the papers to make it legal.
Yeah. And I mean, they did release DVDs all the same.
Yeah, that means it's legal. Anything on a DVD, definitely legal.
Well, and we'll get more to that when we actually cover this episode. But I don't feel we've earned a pre-show banter on a first episode. But what was your pro wrestling sort of experience, like level of fandom before, we started doing this?
Been a pretty big fan for like my entire life, really. I mean, when I was younger, it was harder to follow growing up because I didn't have Sky, because Sky TV was like £100 a month, and that had all the WWF at the time wrestling on it. But I kind of like bought figures and like knew of the storylines, and then every now and then I'd sneak a look in a pub at like a Royal Rumble at like a weird time.
In the UK, was wrestling sort of I want to say frowned upon, sort of like negative thing, like.
From what I can remember, not only as much as I think it would have been in Canada or anything like that. Like, it wasn't seen as too bad. Like, it was pushed, it was advertised, and I think there would be school controversies where it'd be like, we need to ban the people's elbow because kids are doing the people's elbow to each other all over the place, and doing like with their kid brother, like doing tombstone pile drivers in their bedroom and stuff, and the Daily Mail pick up the one case it went wrong.
Yeah.
But overall, I don't think it ever became like a huge moral panic or anything like that. It was kind of just like...
No, but I more meant like, would kids think it's cool, or were kids like, you're fucking lame for liking wrestling?
No, wrestling was huge, I think, especially because it had that like... Because it was on Sky and not everyone had access to it. It was like the cool kids like loved wrestling and were able to watch wrestling.
Oh, okay.
So like, I don't think it was ever considered lame, especially not like when I grew up during the Attitude Era. It was still like, The Rock is badass and things like that. So
I'm jealous, man, because honestly in Canada, and I don't know if any Canadian listeners will feel this, but like it was really like you were almost like a closeted wrestling fan. And if you found out someone else was into wrestling, you'd sort of be like, oh, wasn't that fucking cool? But it wasn't like the big public thing where...
Yeah.
Especially post-Attitude Era. Like, once we got into high school and Austin and Rock were gone.
To be fair, I think that was the same... post-Attitude Era, when, like, it went a bit PG. Like, people were still just playing, like... Bring the Pain and think like I can't remember the name of the game. Here Comes the Pain, yeah, that's it. But I think post-Attitude Era, there was definitely a lull. In popularity. So
you've basically been a lifelong fan. Are you still a fan now? You're following AEW?
Yeah, I got during COVID. I was like, man, I really want to get into wrestling. And my friend was like, check out AEW. So I kind of watched all that, caught up with all that. And then, since then, just been like a lot more tuned into it, and watched Dark Side of the Ring, and watched a few other things like that. Caught up on some old sort of like pay-per-views that were legendary that I should have watched.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I've sort of been... Well, it's for me, I'm a lifelong fan. My dad was a huge pro wrestling fan. Like, some of my earliest memories are my dad and my grandpa drinking together and watching wrestling pay-per-views, and they'd let me and my younger cousin watch or whatever. And I remember...
And drink, or?
No, not drink.
Yeah.
But I do remember on one fateful, one of the pay-per-views, my grandpa was like, you kids should be trying this shit. And like fast forward 2 hours later, and I broke my collarbone like doing a bump down the stairs.
Oh, you were the guy in the Daily Mail story then that hurt themselves doing wrestling moves. That means it should be banned.
Exactly, yeah. But it's funny you bring that up, because when we talk about CZW specifically, like they were the backyard promotion. So like backyard wrestling was sort of I almost want to say like it felt like the same place from like the same people rallying against Eminem and swear words and like Howard Stern and guys like that is the same group that was sort of against backyard wrestling because kids were like crippling themselves and stuff.
Yeah.
Then there was ECW, which was sort of like well, fuck it, we're punk rock, we don't care. But then CZW was almost more extreme, where they were like, fuck you if you don't like backyard wrestling. Backyard wrestling is the best. And that was sort of my idea of CZW, was like, wow, they even pushed the most extreme company even more so. So when did you discover CZW? What was your sort of thoughts about the company when you discovered it?
I mean, I was never like... I mean, I always had a fascination with the more violent side and things like that, but it was hard, it was so hard to get a hold of in the UK, like especially growing up and things like that. Like there was wrestling on Sky and whatnot, but like watching this sort of stuff was difficult. The closest I got was playing the video game Backyard Wrestling on PS2, which was not a good game.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So it was mostly like internet when you were like a teenager, sort of.
Yeah, and yeah, going online and things like that. And then as the internet got better, you could stream some of that. But it was definitely like, it's been a fairly recent thing for me being introduced to it and looking into it and kind of, reading up on it and watching a lot more of it, especially, doing this podcast and things like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's a perfect primer. That's the level of wrestling fandom we're in. I was sort of similar with CZW. I had a big phase with deathmatch wrestling, and that, like, when I found out about the Tournament of Death, which for those of you if you're brand new to CZW, it's the yearly deathmatch tournament where you'll have to wrestle 3 death matches in a year, or in a night, if you get to the end. It's a really, like, abhorrently violent show.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I was just so attracted to that aspect of wrestling. Because in my mind, I'm like, I don't care if you're a Lucha fan or a New Japan fan or WWE, AEW. Like, I don't like the snobbiness in any direction. I don't like when people are like, well, that shouldn't be a part of wrestling or whatever. It's like, really? Like, because I've seen guys dressed as garbage cans. I've seen, I've seen minotaurs. I've seen pretty much everything work. And I just like the wackiness of wrestling. And to me, this is sort of the extreme part of the violent side of hardcore wrestling. And I was super open to it. I thought it was very interesting.
I think as well it kind of... I mean, we all know that wrestling's obviously not real, sorry guys, but I think what the hyper-violence does almost is like completely destroy that line, because like regardless of whether the story or whatever, like these guys are actually getting hurt, and these guys are actually... This is real, essentially. Like this is like, violent, and I think you can kind of connect with that.
They're working together, but you go call one of these guys a pussy or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, they'll beat the fuck out of you. It's sort of that type of energy,
Yeah, 100%.
Where it's like, yeah, he might be a fake wrestler, but he's also a bank robber. He's
yeah.
also, like, these are still dangerous people doing really fucked up things. That was sort of my view on CCW too. It had this air of realism about it, even though it was clearly fake. And so with that, let's go into CZW opening night, February 13th, 1999. Did you have any idea that they were like even recording as early as 1999? So this was happening when ECW was still like an active company.
No, yeah, and the day before Valentine's Day as well. Jeez, like what a day to start it. No, I didn't know it'd been going like this long, to be honest. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. Definitely, and definitely you can see. Because this would have been Attitude Era and things like that, like wanting to bank on that, I think, a bit and be like, if you like the blood and violence in that, then we're even more extreme and things like that. A perfect time to kind of go for it.
Well, yeah, you can definitely say that's where it came from. I mean, I've got so many things to say about this show, and we'll get into it as it goes on. I was surprised there was only one, like, death match, per se, one really violent match. But the rest was sort of played like, it's like an indie wrestling show you'd sort of see. So I was sort of surprised. It took place in the CZW Arena in Mantua, New Jersey. I'm not sure why specifically it's called the CZW Arena. I don't know who dubbed it that, but they've been doing shows there since, the very beginning. So I guess they just dubbed it that during this.
Are you going to stop them calling it the CCW Arena if they all show up and like, we're calling this the CCW Arena, mate?
Yeah. And the show, I will say, maybe definitely over like maybe over 150 people for sure in the crowd, 200 perhaps.
Yeah, it looked pretty busy to be fair. Like, but you know, it was a nice atmosphere, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. So the show opens with the in-ring commentator just introducing the first wrestler. There's no intro to speak of. There's no commentators throughout this entire show. There's nothing explaining why anyone's fighting. No.
Yeah. I think what's amazing is that it's filmed like a found footage film. Like
Yeah.
it feels like this is like you're watching this and you've got to figure out how all these guys disappeared. Because like it's just some dude's handheld camera footage. Just like you can hear him talking and things like you've recorded Spider-Man at the cinema. It's crazy.
And literally some dude, because it's one camera guy with one camcorder.
He does well, to be fair. Like
Yeah.
he keeps it on the action.
But whenever there's a match where they split off into groups, you can tell he's just fucked and has to go one way or the other.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. It's just, I don't know what I expected going into this, because it's CZW, a notoriously sort of disorganized clusterfuck of a company, putting out their first event on DVD. And for clarity, they had done a few events before already. They'd done a few in 1998 with, I want to say, I had the names here. There was, John Zandig, obviously the owner and founder of CZW, and he had 5 of his students. Apparently he was teaching a wrestling course, but I don't know who taught him, or if he just one of these guys who's decided I can teach wrestling now.
Yeah.
With Rick Blade, TCK, Lobo, Nick Gage, and Justice Payne, along with the trainer John Dahmer. I don't know if that's his real name or if he was just being topical, given the Jeffrey Dahmer thing of the 90s. And those were his 5 main students. All 5 of those would have a presence on this show. And you could tell they were like, they thought ECW were pussies. They were like constantly like sort of dragging ECW throughout the show. You're almost like, that's what they're going for. But no John Zandig to speak of on this show. Are you very familiar with John Zandig?
Not overly, no.
Man, he is a sight to behold. And I know he goes on to wrestle quite frequently in the company. So maybe we'll just get on to that in a future episode.
Yeah.
But he is a wild man. The first match opens with, like I said, the in-ring commentator just brings out the first wrestler, clearly filled on a handheld camera. The ring was sort of like an indie sort of pro wrestling ring, smaller than your average ring, but didn't look like it was going to fall apart. It looks
it looked. I mean, what seemed to go okay. I was half expecting it to like blow up like it did in WWE, but for real. But no, it was. It looked pretty solid.
And they were sticking with the black and yellow motif from the very beginning. Do you like black and yellow as sort of like pro wrestler colors?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, I don't think. Yeah, I guess they didn't want to go too fancy. I guess they were just like, this is hardcore. Like no novelties, no gimmick. Like let's just get to the damn wrestling.
Well, I always wonder if they just didn't have enough black tape in the back, and someone's like, oh no, use this yellow tape, and then they're like, hey, that looks pretty cool.
Iconic. Yeah.
It just stuck forever. The first match of the night is Quicksilver versus the Sensational One. And you wouldn't have heard of any of these guys before. Quicksilver looked like Just Incredible is so much better looking than this guy in ring. Like, he's a poor man's Just Incredible, who I always thought sort of looked like an indie guy anyway.
I was just amazed. For me, like the main thing was just they all did just look like they've come off their day jobs. They were just all like dudes who were just like, this helps me escape from my life to do this wrestling and things like that. Like they all just looked like dudes, which was pretty cool and pretty funny. I don't know, just like with the whole vibe, I was just like, yeah, I could know these people for sure.
Yeah, more likely to. They're more likely to be in the audience than be in the ring.
Yeah.
But the Sensational One, I don't know. He had with a name like the Sensational One, he seemed charismatic. He was the champ. He comes in as the CZW Junior Heavyweight Champion. And just an awful looking title belt. It looks like it's falling apart, like from an 80s boxing sort of arena. It doesn't look, there's nothing CZW about it.
That's where all the tape went. That's where the rest of the black tape went to keep that together.
It is, though. It's this giant, like flimsy, almost cardboard looking title.
Yeah.
But the Sensational One, he looked at least sort of athletic. He had a singlet on. He wasn't wearing jeans and a wife beater like Quicksilver.
I mean, I always respect someone who wrestles in jeans.
So the match begins with these two guys, and starts with Quicksilver yelling that Sensational One looks like Urkel. And Sensational One being an African-American gentleman. And Urkel, being an African-American guy, clearly the connection was made.
Yeah,
and he even starts trying to start an Urkel chant from the crowd.
The crowd love it. Because then throughout the match, there is just, like, people shouting Urkel at him and things like that over, like...
And to be fair, Sensational One is selling this like you've just insulted his mother. He's, like, flipping out, like, over the top, selling this insult.
Yeah.
And you can also tell that I don't know about the majority, obviously not the majority, a big chunk of this crowd were children. Like, we're under 14 years old.
Yeah, I was really surprised by that, actually. That, like, yeah, the chorus of Urkel did sound like children's voices, and I was like, I suppose, I don't know whether they had any verification or anything, but yeah, they needed a busy show for their first big one, so they were just like, yeah, just bring your kids along, like, to this.
Yeah, they'll chant anything. Like, I'm sure that none of them knew who Urkel was, but they were happy to yell it out.
They'll know now. They'll be like, I saw Urkel wrestle.
Yeah. And by the way,
rest of their life.
No guardrail between the crowd and the ring, of course.
You could just go up.
No, there was literally the seats, like, next to the apron.
Well, you want that connect. This is real wrestling. You know, they want the fans involved. They want you to be connected.
Yeah. So we start getting just basic spots out of these guys. He's clowning the Sensational One, then Sensational One will go outside and start yelling at the audience. Sort of like basic heat building. And I'm going to use the word indie a lot, but, like, it really was sort of like an indie-rific match. Like, when I used to go to indie shows, it was like a dad off his day job, putting on slacks or whatever, and sort of wrestling, and this just really felt like that. But Sensational One did show athleticism, even like when he was doing leapfrog spots, things like that. You could sort of tell, like, okay, I think this guy's worked before. Quicksilver just less and less impressive as this match went on. And this was not a long match at all. I was just, like, so unimpressed by this guy. And at one point, so I was trying to figure out if anyone had acknowledge what the rules are in CZW, because ECW would famously have every match is hardcore. Why we don't even need a ref other than to call the count or whatever. In this one, Sensational One's losing the match. He just hits a blatant nut shot in front of the referee, and the ref's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I didn't do anything." And the ref's like, "I saw it." And he's like, "No, you didn't." And then the match just continues, and you have no, like, punishment at all, no, like, nothing really. So I'm still not sure of the rules at this point.
I don't think they knew the rules. I think they were committed to a 3 count wins the match, but that's about it, really.
Yeah. So I have written here, like, halfway through the match, Quicksilver is clearly gassed. Like, he's so tired, and you can see him, like, sucking wind.
Yeah, that is the funniest thing for me, I think, throughout all of it, is, like, all these dudes are just almost instantaneously gassed, like, the first spot.
Like,
and,
the pressure of seeing a crowd is just taking it out of them.
Yeah, and there'll be one of them who sort of it has enough energy, so he'll do most of the work for the spot, and then they'll have a rest, and then the other guy will do most of the work for a spot, and they'll just go back and forth. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this dude was, like, gassed. I felt exhausted. I felt gassed.
Watching him?
Yeah.
Well, and it was right before his big shine spot where he was meant to hit, like, this springboard clothesline sort of thing, and then he puts him in this terrible submission. Like, you know, like when someone's just letting you put them in a submission, just laying there, and I don't even know what it looked like. And then after this, out of nowhere, he just hits what would you call it, like a cradle shock or like a Michinoku driver or something? He basically just does this super dangerous looking move on Sensational One, dropping him on his head. And instead of pinning him, does this another convoluted roll-up submission thing and gets the 1, 2, 3 at 6 minutes and 48 seconds for your first match. Winner and new CZW Junior Heavyweight Champion.
In 1999.
Quicksilver. So we have a title change for the first match here. It could have just been for the title. Like, it's their first event. You could have, like, you know, presented the belt.
I guess they needed to make it, I don't know, seem exciting. I don't know, but having it. Yeah, it seems quite, like, you should already know all of this stuff before watching our first DVD release, actually.
Sort of. Like, they're recording for the audience that has probably been at every show.
Yeah, exactly.
But not explaining it to anyone. Like, I'm not sure of the...
It's like Dark Souls, isn't it? They expect you to know all of this stuff before you get in there. And you're just like, this is an in-joke for the crowd. And then you're like, this is your first game, mate. Like, what do you mean this is an in-joke for the crowd?
Yeah. No one knows who you are.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, this was just a nothing, like, indie-rific match all the way around. Afterwards, Quicksilver's celebrating. And, of course, Sensational One can't have that. So he attacks him, hits him with the belt. Then he grabs a microphone, cuts, like, the most average "This Town Sucks" promo, and challenges him to a match next month. He's like, you know what? I don't care if you beat me clean in
Yeah.
a 6-minute match. We're doing this again next month.
Yeah, everyone's like, hell yeah, again, nice one.
You know, they're just cheering because that's the cadence of a promo where you would cheer.
Yeah.
But he's saying nothing like to cheer for. He's like a heel or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just hilarious. And I don't mean, I should take an interlude here. I'm not doing a CCW podcast to shit on or hate on CCW. I mean, it's clearly a flawed company, but I like shitty wrestling like this. But this, for a first outing, was just really bad. There's like really no redeemable qualities of any of this. So I am just going to say what I feel, and maybe 10 episodes from now, it's like, oh, maybe he doesn't hate CZW.
Yeah, he loves Urkel.
Yeah, Urkel is your new heavyweight champion. And then it's just an abrupt cut. You just cut to black, come back, and it's the start of another match. And that would sort of be the pattern throughout the night. There's no backstage promos to speak of, no anything like that. Not that I'm complaining, but it was just match. A 90-minute DVD or upload on ccwstudios.com.
Yeah.
Took me about like 2.5 hours to finish watching.
Yeah.
I would just need breaks, man. I'm like, I can't take this.
Yeah, I'd need toilet break. Yeah, I know what you mean.
So the next night we have a tag team match, Extreme Fahrenheit. And they never said the names of either of these teams, obviously, because there's no commentary. I found it on cagematch.net, which is probably going to be helping this podcast out tremendously as we go along. So Extreme Fahrenheit, Heartbreaker, and Mr. Motion. They look and sound like a team just straight out of the 80s.
Yeah, definitely.
Not to be outdone by the Kingpins with
Oh,
a Z.
man. I love the Kingpins so much.
Price and Schaefer are their names. One name title. And they're just fat, bald dudes.
Yeah, they're so good. I love these guys.
Fat, bald dudes in bowling shirts.
Yeah.
And they each come out holding a bowling pin.
That's their whole gimmick. Like that's their only relation to their gimmick is the fact that they have a shirt on that says Kingpins. Like they don't do any sort of like bowling moves or anything like that. All it is that it says Kingpins on the back, and they are gassed before they even get to the ring.
They are so funny. You can tell they've probably been bowling all day and drinking beer.
Yeah.
Like, they come out exhausted.
They got a perfect game before this,
Yeah.
so they're out of it.
Already over.
Yeah.
And they come out, of course, to the Beastie Boys, by the way.
Yeah, I was wondering about the rights for this because, like, whether they, but I guess they're selling a DVD and it was a bit murky. But now it's like all streaming and the copyright music's still all there, and I'm like, fair play, like, just go for it, I guess.
Well, that is true. It's like, ECW was famous for this, like Enter Sandman, like all these songs they would just take unabashedly.
Yeah.
And just, it's like, okay, sue us. We're not even a company anymore. But CZW, I mean, yeah, they're still around. I watched this a week ago. These are all still in there.
They need to Guitar Hero it, where it's like, as made famous by the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, I'm sure the Beastie Boys would love credit for the Kingpins entering music. But yeah, the Extreme Fahrenheit, they were fine, but nothing to speak of. This is all about the bowlers, you know.
Yeah, their personality did a lot of carrying for the match, because they were just like, no, you do the move to me, mate. Like, they were not, they were just like, I'm not doing anything, mate. I've got the Kingpin shirt, so you're going to be the one. I'm the big man here.
You're the jobber. I'm
the bowling guy. Don't you know how the hierarchy works?
And so the match starts with just all four brawling on the outside. And then out of nowhere, someone over the house microphone, I guess the ring announcer, was like, hey, can we get everyone back in the ring now? And then the wrestlers just come back to the ring, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, is he also a referee? Or like, what? And again, I'm asking, what are the rules of this company? Like, you just can't be outside that long? And then, so Extreme Fahrenheit starts doing every tag team move that you've ever seen, sort of like if you've ever played any wrestling video game from the 90s, they're doing all of them in a row.
Yeah, when you'd button
double
mash.
hip toss, the Irish whip a guy into a clothesline.
Yeah.
All of it. And they start trying to take, this is one of my favorite parts of this whole fucking show, by the way. They're trying to build to the hot tag, because the Kingpins take control and they start beating up one of Extreme Fahrenheit. And anyone who's ever watched a tag team match knows what the hot tag's all about. You just beat the shit out of a guy, maybe let people think he's going to tag his partner and then pull him back, or knock the partner off. Or you build tension or whatever.
Cut the ring in half.
So they've been building this hot tag for maybe 5 minutes. And then all of a sudden, the guy who's getting beat up, it's like he loses focus for a second, and then he rolls out of the ring, and he starts like putting his arms up to the crowd, and people cheer him. And then he goes to his partner's side of the ring, casually rolls into the ring and just tags his partner like nothing.
That's next level thinking. That's a real wrestling mind, I think. Like, we weren't, because you weren't expecting it.
Yeah.
We were expecting the hot tag, and we didn't get it. And I was like, mind blown. How are the Kingpins going to recover from this?
But even the partner who gets the tag, he's still in like the mindset that I need to do the hot tag.
Yeah.
So he comes in like a house of fire, and the Kingpin guy just clotheslines him immediately and cuts off his hot tag. It was just like, this is the worst match I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I mean, when the Kingpins, they do like a duo move or whatever.
They do,
and it's
specifically the dual people's elbow.
And it is the most laboured running between the ropes you will ever see. It takes what feels like 10 minutes for them to like, and I'm like, just do it. Like, you're going to have a heart attack, lads.
It made the Rock's people's elbow feel like a UFC maneuver.
Yeah.
Based on how slow and fake this was. It's just the two guys, they both do the arm cross thing and then like jog over the guy. Yeah. And then the difference is they high five above and then drop the elbow together.
Yeah. Famously in bowling, you're working with a partner. Anyway, so yeah, that was laboured, to say the least.
And that all leads us to finally they build another hot tag for like 2 minutes. The babyface is running wild for like 10 seconds. And then he's up on the top rope, and one of the Kingpins pushes him off, and his leg gets tied up in the rope. And so the ref loses all focus and goes to untie the guy. And as that's happening, the other Kingpin hits a guy with a bowling pin, which I was very happy to see that they did use the bowling pin.
Yeah.
And they get the pin. And to pin this guy, it was like the Kingpin leans down on one knee and puts his hand on him.
Yeah.
Like he's about to pass out. Like he's just finished a football game.
I hope they're okay. I hope this wasn't their last wrestling match.
I guarantee, and I'm not trying to make this a dark thing right away, I bet half the people we saw on this show are dead.
100%.
Minimum. Yeah. I would guess over. If I had to take the over-under, I would guess both Kingpins are dead.
Yeah, bowling-related incident.
Quicksilver, there's no way he's alive.
Yeah, no. There's one. There's probably one or two, I'd say, who are still going. But yeah, that's oh man, I just cannot get over how long it took them to jog from each side of the ring. Because it's not even, like you said, it's not a huge ring.
And the way we're describing this might sound like a 20-minute match or whatever. This was a 10-minute and 16-second match. Unbelievably long. It felt like forever. And then smash cut. Again, this is another moment that it's crazy they left this up there because it would be so easy to cut out. So they cut to the next match, and it's supposed to be like a song, and it sort of like sounds like you're playing someone's voicemail that they got the night before. Of this guy like yelling about something. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you can hear the sound guy talking to like the camera guy. He's like, that's why I said track 3, not track 2. And then the right track plays and a rap song comes in. And you're like, they just left that fuck up there for.
Is that a skit? Yeah, is that early 1999? They had skits on rap CDs, didn't they? So maybe they were doing a skit before introducing it.
I think so. Yeah. That's completely right.
Yeah.
That like 40-second rap skit. But they let it go like 30 seconds before someone realized it wasn't the right song. And again, that leads us to match number 3. Mr. Meaner versus Rick Blade with Lady Blaze. So, your first manager here tonight. Mr. Meaner, I thought it was Quicksilver coming out, but he just changed outfits. Like, he looks so similar to Quicksilver. With
a lot of these,
jeans, bald head, wife beater. It's just a bald dude in jeans. But Rick Blade, he's the first guy, maybe Sensational One had a bit of this, but he's the first guy where I'm like, this guy looks like a pro wrestler, at least, He's like young, athletic-looking guy. He's wearing like a Double Dragons, like red gi, which is weird because Lady Blaze wasn't wearing like a matching outfit. She was just wearing jeans.
They could only afford one of them to get the outfit. They needed to hit that big break before both of them could get the outfit. But yeah, I know what you mean, like, because I think the first 2 matches had been not great, but then I think he was definitely felt like a step above. And to be fair, you kind of like, that was what's interesting for me about this, is just spotting the people who maybe still are going or like had a bit of a career and seeing their early stuff. And I think this match there was actually a bit of wrestling in it, to be fair.
Well, and I'd actually remembered Rick Blade from the top when I'm like, okay, this is one of the 5 guys that's like, not to misuse the pillars term from AEW. Like, this guy's meant to be like a pillar.
This is what they're building the comfort around this guy. Yeah.
Rick Blade. Come on, he's a young guy, looks good. So the match just begins with Mr. Meaner. He keeps like leaving the ring. He's like, "Oh no, I'm gonna go," and then he'll yell at the audience or whatever. And they're trying to do that spot where the guy keeps leaving to talk shit, and then eventually Rick Blade just dives out of the ring at him.
Yeah.
But because, like I said earlier, there's like no room between the crowd and the ring, and there's no guardrail. He has to do this almost like flip just immediately over the ring onto him, and like in the safest sort of, not gonna fall on a kid flip.
Yeah, I mean, like you said earlier, I mean, I was surprised that by this point there hadn't been like more violence, I guess. Like, I don't know, maybe coming in with the wrong expectations, but like these were not great wrestling matches, but they were just like, they were just doing moves. They weren't getting weapons out or anything like, apart from, the pin, the
bowling
iconic bowling pin.
But you're right, I think that was the only weapon. Or did they use a chair in the first one? No, there was a low blow.
Yeah, I don't
think there were any weapons at all up to this point.
Which was quite surprising, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Especially because, I mean, this company was always called Combat Zone Wrestling. I don't think they ever were like, let's do an all-deathmatch company all the time. I mean, that's not even feasible at any point. But I did expect, like, I really thought that was going to be their sort of bread and butter. Like, I expected them to open with, like, a crazy tag thing. I expected, like, a ladder match. I expected really crazy bumps.
I guess that's the stuff that kind of explodes in popularity, and then we need to lean into it. I guess when you're doing your first DVD release, you're like, well, we want to make this as legitimate as possible.
Sorry, not to correct you, but this is very clearly recorded for VHS.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Like on a single cam.
Yeah, you can tell. Yeah, but like, their first release, kind of to sell, they were like, well, we need to make it a bit legitimate. It can't just be the blood fest, because then it's immediately, we're kind of in we're banned or whatever.
Category.
Yeah,
you literally are right next to on the shelf in bum fights in the restricted area.
Get invited onto Dr. Phil and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
So the match Meaner's in control for a while, and then he just starts jawing with Lady Blaze on the outside. And again, in another moment of like, what are the rules here? Lady Blaze like casually gets in the ring, hits a low blow on Mr. Meaner, and then hits him with a Hurricane Rana. And the crowd chant more for this than maybe anything else in the show at this point. They loved this chick beating up Mr. Meaner. And it felt like a complete sort of takeoff Lita. I don't know. I don't even know if she was doing this at this point for the Hardys. But you know how she would come in with the rest back turn and hit like a Hurricane Rana or something like that?
There'll be a lot of that before you kind of like form your identity like a company or a wrestler, right? Where you just like,
totally,
let's just do these things that are popular in other things, and
much like the Kingpins with the People's Elbow, they're like, one day we'll be just like The Rock.
The Pinpool's elbow.
And then it hits the low point, and then since this was in the plain view of the ref, the Meaner gets up and he sort of pushes the ref, and he's like, "What the fuck, man?" And the ref's like, "You antagonized her," and that was sort of the description of why that was allowed to happen.
Equality, women's rights.
And then so Meaner gets a chair. This was the first weapon of this show. Sets it up in the corner, sort of like the way you do in between the ropes. And then his Irish whip is reversed, and he's thrown into the chair, hits the back. But then Blade goes for this moonsault. And it's one of the ones where it's like, you know when a guy, he goes way too high but not far out enough? So it's almost like he's going to hit the turnbuckle. He does that, and Mr. Meaner has to like hug the ring post, and Rick Blade just splats to his death.
I was always worried whenever anything involving climbing up ropes or jumping off ropes was involved, chairs or anything like that. I was just holding my breath, and I was like, well, they wouldn't still be streaming it if something really bad happened, but maybe they would.
They completely would. Yeah. They would advertise it.
Yeah.
And then Meaner just gets up, hits, again, a Michinoku driver, which is like the exact same move that Quicksilver hit in 2 matches earlier, and gets the clean win, a super clean flat win at 7:37. I was surprised to see Rick Blade lose. I don't know. I did just because I knew he was a student. I thought they were going to build him a bit, whereas Mr.
Story
Meaner
building.
You got to see where it goes.
You got to see. Next month there's a title match again. So you're building to a better show. You're building to the next show.
I am very excited for the next show. We will get to that later, but they did set up their main event pretty well. That smash cuts us to the 4th match: Lobo versus Derek Domino. Now, Lobo, not only is he one of Zandig's students, but he's a name I've always heard around early deathmatch wrestling. I get the feeling this guy's a bit of a crazy person. Was like one of the first guys to do like like weed whacker shit or fire and stuff like that. But he looks, and I'm not meaning to be that disrespectful with this, but he looks like a homeless person coming out. Like, he's got his hair down to his shoulders and like a Nirvana shirt, like a punk rock sort of heroin addict vibe to this guy. And he looks small. He looks like maybe 5'6", like.
But dangerous.
What do you think about Lobo? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. I don't know. I think a lot of them had that vibe, to be honest. Like I was saying, like, they do just look like they've come in off their day. Like, they just haven't made any effort to be like, well, this is going out to be sold. Like, I'm just going to turn up and be me.
Yeah, this guy was smoking weed in his apartment all day.
Yeah, and then was like, oh shit, that's tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, completely.
I'm going to be late for the show.
Yeah, and he's fighting Derek Domino, which just sounds like something Vince McMahon would have, like, farted out on an off day. And they're fighting for the CZW Iron Man Championship, which, again, no idea what that title belt is, what it entails, if there's any rules. Yeah. This was certainly not an Iron Man match, thank God. Because Derek Domino, the closest thing I could think of is like a Braden Walker lookalike. And he starts the match with a promo saying, he's like, anyone who watches wrestling that doesn't happen on a Monday night or ECW knows who I am. Which is so funny.
That's a really good promo, to be fair. You're hitting all those people who know you. Yeah, those people who know you are really going to go for that. They're really going to pop.
I've met comedians like that, Like, there's this guy in Vancouver who was like, yeah, the clubs won't hire me to work, but everyone in East Vancouver thinks I'm the man. And you're like, all right. Yeah. I guess that means something. But yeah, so what I loved about this right after, they start doing the match, and Domino, he's, again, the third guy in a row who's just ignoring the match, going to do drawing with the crowd and stuff. This is clearly just how they build heat. And then he goes up to the second rope to, like, put his arms up and get applause. And on his way off the second rope, you can see his knee tweak, like, clearly. And from this point on, he's got, like, a slight limp, sort of, and he's just, like, walking even slower than he was. He's this big out of shape.
Yeah, he's walking like Mr. X from Resident Evil 2.
And so he rips off Lobo's shirt and starts hitting these hard chops. But yeah, this is as basic as wrestling gets. It looked awful. I mean, even for the standard on this show, this was like really bad quality wrestling. At one point, Lobo goes for a spinning heel kick, and you can tell he legitimately kicks Domino in the nose. Because it busts his nose open, and then he even asks, like, are you okay? For, like, Domino's just holding his nose. But Domino at one point hits a superplex, and then he begins showboating right after hitting the superplex, and Lobo rolls him up with your classic schoolboy at 4 minutes, 50 seconds. Winner and new CZW Iron Man champion, Lobo.
I really popped for that. I really wanted him to win that Iron Man.
Yeah.
CZW, that was the one I was going for.
There's nothing like seeing a loudmouth get their comeuppance.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
That's what CZW must have been hoping for. They're like, everyone likes a loudmouth getting their comeuppance. And then out of nowhere, immediately after Gage and Justice Payne hit the ring, and then they take out Domino and start arguing with each other, and then they brawl to the back as like Lobo celebrates. And I don't know if this was meant to be an angle or it was meant to... Again, obviously, Nick Gage and Justice Payne never been introduced to us, the at-home viewer, and I'm assuming no one at home either, or in the audience. This was just so random.
Yeah, I mean, because the audio quality is not great as well. You like sometimes can't hear what's going on or what's being said or who's like, what.
And because everyone in the card looks like your average guy off the streets, you're almost
could just be a dude from the crowd just got really annoyed.
And could fuck up Domino, no problem.
Yeah.
And then again, smash cut to black. Now this is what you were thinking. The Brothers of East L.A., Angel Vera and Bobby Muniz, versus John Dahmer and Jose Rivera Jr., the champions. John Dahmer and Rivera walking in as CZW champions, because this is, of course, a CZW tag team title match. So the brothers come to the ring with their own rapper. They like sort of rapping their entrance tune. They're rocking like matching flannels and headbands. They look like a poor man's Public Enemy.
Yeah, it's a fair play to them for actually putting the effort in to like wear something like, I don't know, just thematic and
totally.
Like them and Kingpins really were the holding up the costume game.
I love a tag team that it matches the tires.
And he's got a rapper as well. Like, they definitely paid for that out of pocket. There's no way CCW were covering that either.
Yeah, 100%. I'm sure it was just a guy they hang out with.
Yeah, probably.
And they do look like Public Enemy in every way. They're big, fat, out-of-shape dudes. You can tell they're all personality-driven. And then Jose and Dahmer, they enter separately, which I hate. I need a tag team to come out together dressed as like garbage men or something. And Jose is looking even more so than Rick Blade. He's the closest thing to an actual wrestler on this card.
Yeah.
He's like wearing the full singlet. He looks jacked. Dahmer, he's wearing like this weird shiny leather like gimp suit sort of thing, like if the gimp was a wrestler from Pulp Fiction. And he just like I don't know why, for some reason when I heard John Dahmer wrestling trainer, I expected like a big gruff looking guy, and he's almost like a twinkish looking dude in like tight leather.
Yeah, at that point at least wear the Dahmer glasses, right? Like lean into it if you're going to be...
Just come out dressed as Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, exactly, with a Bud Light.
That's what we want, yeah. So yeah, they enter separately. Jose begins right away before the match starts pointing at the Brothers of East LA and starts chanting Taco Bell, Taco Bell.
Oh yeah.
And this was like the high point for the crowd all night. Like I'm not even. I thought it was sort of weird. I mean, fucking, they're two Hispanic guys, so you point and chant Taco Bell.
Urkel, tag, yeah. There's a theme.
It's what you would expect from a CZW crowd.
In 1999, that stuff, it was a different time.
And to be fair, the only reason I'm giving him a pass is because this was 1999, and I heard much worse chants by this point in my life, like, she's a crack whore, or like other things with words I don't want.
I've heard worse characters. I've seen worse characters that were elevated by other wrestling companies. So, like it's wrestling. Like wrestling's always played on stereotypes and cliches and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, it
felt like heat, and it felt like the wrestlers were into it. I
guess
guess that was the difference I'm making. Like it. But it really was uncomfortable and at the same time sort of weird.
Yeah, I mean, there was I guess you're not. I don't know if it's in your notes, but there's a chant later on that made me feel uncomfortable. I was like, oh, this is 1999 that they're filming this.
We'll get to that one for sure.
Because, this one was like, you're like, oh, okay, like, it's bad, but what do you expect from...
It's childish.
Yeah.
And it's literally being chanted by children. Like,
true.
This is when I really realized, like, wow, this crowd is kid-heavy.
Yeah.
Because even when the adults were sort of, okay, Taco Bell, we're done. The kids just 5 minutes into this match are chanting Taco Bell.
Or be silence, and then one of the kids would be like, Taco Bell, and then everyone would go again.
Yeah, and I'm sure maybe we would have been distracted by the chant if this match had anything to talk about. But it was the most slow-paced, by-the-number, plodding, like, indie match. It was just so brutal.
I think that's why, like, I'm glad you've taken a lot of notes, because all I remember is mainly kingpins and just the occasional move, because, there wasn't much wrestling to speak of in most of the matches, I think, right? It's just like a lot of speaking to the crowd and then falling over each other for a bit.
Yeah, well, and to be fair, for context, like, I normally when I watch shows, I'll be playing my Switch or I'll listen to a podcast. Not listen to a podcast when I'm watching shit, but I'm very rarely 100% tuned into what I'm watching or playing or listening to. But for the purpose of this podcast, I feel like if I'm going to deliver a real review on what I saw, I need to close everything out and just actually pay attention. And that's why I'm so, animated about how bad this was, because it was so long. This is so fucking long, man, these matches. You can't believe how long 9 minutes can feel until you're watching a CZW.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
indie match.
Yeah, I've been bombing on stage, and those are a long 5 minutes, so this felt like a real long 9 minutes.
Yeah, these guys were bombing in ring for 9:03. So the slowest, most boring offense to build to what I called a cold tag here. That's me being clever, The LA Bros just start hitting with chairs, hitting the other guys with chairs outside. No punishment at all. The referee doesn't care. The hot tag never comes, and the LA Bros just hit John Dahmer with a move, and the camera missed the move. There was like one of the guys was fighting Jose outside, and the camera was on them. And it was in the crowd, and the crowd was so dark you couldn't see what was happening. And then you hear the bell ring, and the camera turns, and the finish happened.
Yeah, the cameraman did let us down there. Like he's had a stellar show so far, but I think at some points, like weapons or using chairs and stuff, I think for wrestlers they think it's a cheat code to make a match exciting. But if you just,
it is.
Yeah, like. But if someone's just getting belted by a chair, like, yeah, it's cool the first time, but then you're just like, okay, do like something else, please, or just...
Totally.
Yeah, I wanted to see it a bit more, and, I mean, I don't know, it's hard to be too down on it, because of the context and all that. But yeah, it was just quite boring.
Well, I have written here, it's easily the worst match on a pretty awful card.
Yeah.
So even given the standard that we've been treated to up to this point, this was like a notch below. This was like a really, really bad match.
Especially considering they had a rapper introduce them, which felt like I was in for something good.
Yeah. He should have turned on them. The rapper, once you realize you're bad wrestlers, just turn on them.
Yeah, true.
So afterwards, Jose is consoles Dahmer, sort of. Because Dahmer got busted open during all this, by the way. He's bleeding, but you don't know why or where it came from. And then, of course, Dahmer turns on Jose in a super anticlimactic affair. And you can hear someone in the audience say, "We saw that coming." Just walking out of the ring. It was just nothing. This nothing tag team is over now. Who gives a fuck? But I will tell you something I do give a fuck about. Because we cut to our main event, where there are no rules. That's where the ring announcer makes a point to say that, which I guess means there were rules.
Yeah. There have been some rules, but now there's no rules.
So this is CageMatch.net called it a 4 Corners of Pain, which is an elimination 4-way match. I had no idea this was an elimination until we were watching it.
No, yeah.
So when the first pin came, I just thought the match was over, and then they were like, "He's eliminated."
I thought it was weird because I'd seen that there was 4 in it, and then for a while it's not all 4, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is odd."
Yeah, just bizarre.
Yeah.
So they start doing the entrances. Nick Gage comes out first, and he pulls out a microphone, and in a prophetic moment declares that he's going to be the future hardcore legend and the future of hardcore wrestling. I'm sure at the time anyone who knew anything was like, "Shut the fuck up, you moron. This has been an awful show so far." But in hindsight, it's like, he sort of did it.
Fair play. I mean, if there's anything said about Nick Cage is when he says something, he's going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Even if it's, "I'm going to go to jail." And I'm actually very excited for the long-term thing of this podcast, because we are going to see Nick Gage's entire run up until he, goes to prison or whatever. And you're going to see a man who... Right here, Nick Gage looks like an indie wrestler. He looks like a guy who's been training. He's svelte. He's fucking...
Yeah, because I didn't really recognize him. I didn't... I guess that's obviously to do with camera quality, but I was trying to be like, is that Nick Gage? Which one is he? Yeah, so I mean that's was my entryway into being interested in CCW as Nick Gage. So I'm excited to see, him develop and see the entire career, I guess, through this, because he left everything in the ring, and always does.
Totally. Well, and you can tell he respects pro wrestling, clearly a cut above. As far as an in-ring wrestler,
I think, and charisma as well.
From everyone on this whole show, him and his brother Justice Payne were really knew what they were doing, as compared to indie guys who maybe had 5 matches or whatever.
Yeah,
it's not high praise, but it was clear they were taking it serious. Then they do an intro on Atticus Payne, who I was like, who the fuck's Atticus Payne? But then he doesn't show up. They're sort of doing the classic cameras on the ramp and no one comes out. And instead, Derek Domino comes out. I guess this guy, this terrible wrestler who tweaked his knee, is doing double duty tonight. And you're like, all right, why would we have the guy that lost in the main event? But whatever. And the entire time he's coming out, he takes a mic and him and Nick Gage are jawing. But the entire time the lights are flickering on and off because they're doing that thing of a wrestler entering.
Yeah.
So it's just this awkward, epileptic sort of moment in the ring as they're trying to have a promo off. It was just no one cued in the light guy. Cued a TCK, who I don't know anything about, other than he was one of the original guys trained with Zandig as well.
One of the pillars.
One of the pillars, for sure. Enters to Eminem, and he looks like Eminem with brunette hair, so it sort of fit. And I mean, this is, again, 1999. Eminem's probably at the peak, so they're just fully copyright infringing. And he comes out with a barbed wire bat, which I was at least all right,
hell yeah. This is it. Now this is wrestling.
Because even up to this point, we'd seen some weapons, but it was all chairs.
Not much blood or anything like that.
Yeah. Dahmer bled a bit, but no blade jobs for sure. And then finally, Justice Payne, Outlast. You can tell they're trying to make this guy the franchise player. Just the way they put him last, the way they talk about him, sort of revere him. It feels like he's meant to be the big deal. But then at the same time, they botch his entrance because the wrestlers had already started brawling in the ring.
Yeah.
So you couldn't see him actually come out. And then at one point, he's just in the ring fighting, and you're like, wait, is that Justice Payne? It didn't... Again, they didn't have this in mind where someone might not know what's going on.
Yeah, I think, you can tell, that it's kind of been built for... I don't know. They were like, we're going to release this, but then they just did it like it was just a show for the audience. It wasn't to be released after. So there's just things that you probably learn and like from a first show perspective kind of makes sense as mistakes that have been made.
That's why I'm very curious as to, when we do our episode next week, like what's that going to look like?
Yeah.
What kind of fuck-ups are there going to be, and what are they going to acknowledge and like fix as well? But so the thing we talked about off the top happens. Immediately the two pairs split up and start brawling in separate parts of the arena. So the camera guy just sticks with Gage.
And
he's
the big man.
Well, I guess I can't cover the other guys. Nick Gage takes a headshot with a chair, and the camera catches him just like blading on the ground immediately.
Yeah, and straight in with blood.
But the headshot was also like the most violent thing on this entire card up to that point. It was just a straight unprotected shot to his head. And from Derek Domino, who's just whipping chairs at guys at one point. Because right after this, Everton Domino obliterates TCK with a dangerous chair shot. It's almost like he was trying to injure him. Like it looked so dangerous the way he was just swinging this chair at him. And yeah, so you've got Gage bleeding. I think TCK is busted open at this point. Domino hits Gage with this like wet cardboard thing. It was like, I don't know if it was meant to look imposing.
Yeah.
It just like fell apart when he hit him.
I think, I mean, maybe they just wanted to save it all for the main event, because I think the main event does feel like, I mean, relative to the other matches, like a main event. Like
totally.
It is like actually quite exciting. I did enjoy it and things like that, especially relative to what had come before.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I thought it's a shame that you couldn't see the whole thing going on, because there was some good stuff. I thought some enjoyable like wrestling going on.
Mm-hmm. And then at one point, right in the middle of this match, the in-ring announcer picks up a microphone. And he's like, how about this action, guys? What do you say? A CZW chant. CZ dub. CZ. And the crowd just like, what? Just the crowd's like not into it at all. Like they're watching a match.
Yeah.
And the guy's trying to get this like inauthentic, unorganic CZW chant going. And it does not have the legs that Taco Bell did, let me tell you.
No, yeah.
No one went for this. And it was just like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah. I don't know if there was other stuff chanted. Was it during this match?
A few, yeah. What one are you thinking of?
Well, they started chanting homo.
Homo, right.
Yeah.
I think that was at Dahmer. No, that was during this, but I forget who got that.
Yeah. I was just like, I mean, because then, I mean, Taco Bell, the offense is like implicit, but like this is explicit of just kids shouting homo, like probably not even knowing what they're shouting, but there's just like a crowd of people shouting it. I'm just like, who are they even shouting this at? Like, what? Why are they even shouting this?
Yeah,
they're the ones watching, as the cliche, like just men in shirts, like feeling each other up and wrestling each other and stuff like that.
I totally forgot where that chant came as well.
Yeah, I don't even know where it came from.
I totally clocked it as well. They go into the crowd, and there's this like area, this balcony thing that they've got set up. You'd see this in ECW sometimes, where it's in like the back corner of the arena. And you can tell as soon as the wrestlers showed up to this show, they're like, someone's going to use it. We're going off that. But because the crowd is so dark, they have no lights back there. You can see the staircase up to the platform, but you can't see the top of the platform or where the guy would be jumping. So I can only tell because of the crowd and noises that Nick Gage does like a dive from the top of the balcony onto the guys below.
Yeah.
But you can't see any of it.
No, yeah, it is a shame. I don't know. You kind of want to. I mean, maybe it's for the best, because I think it would. I think I would be wincing a lot if I saw someone jumping. Because I already feel weird when people jump off balconies in like shows that cost billions to put on. Yet alone when this probably no safety clearance, no fire exits in building, just people jumping off things. I would be like, oh, maybe this is a bit too much.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Right after this, Gage gets Domino in the ring, and he slams him in the balls with the barbed wire bat, and then pins him while the bat's like still sticking out of his crotch. So eliminates Domino at 7:02. That's when I thought the match was over. It continues. Right after the balcony dive, Justice Payne hits TCK with a guitar, like right in the head, and you're like, holy shit! But it looked like there was like, I don't know, powder. They really overdid the powder in the guitar.
They wanted it to blow up.
Yeah, it looked like a light tube bundle. But
Yeah,
it was a guitar. And then I didn't see a pinfall, but I just heard the bell ring, and then the in-ring announcer is like, TCK has been eliminated. 9 minutes 40 seconds. You're like, all right.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just go along with this. And so that leaves it down to Gage and Justice Payne, the two brothers. Very cool, I thought. And by the way, R.I.P. Justice Payne, obviously the guy who Nick Gage shouts out in all of the intros of his matches to this day. They start having a match, and you can tell this is like Jeff and Matt Hardy on the trampoline, where it's like, okay, these guys are actual workers that have done this before.
Yeah.
They know all these cool moves and stuff. It was higher than the standard of the entire night. Then they bring a table into the ring. It leads to a completely clean pile driver from Nick Gage to Payne. And Gage loves the pile driver, goes on to do this as a finisher for years afterwards. But then the referee gets distracted, again, in a match with no rules. So who gives a fuck?
Why is there a referee there even?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just there to count the fall, right? And then as the ref is distracted, I forget what from, by the way, it just got distracted. Lobo comes in from behind with a staple gun. And he staple guns Nick Gage 3 times. And then Payne sort of sees him laying there all like stapled and shit. And just pins him at 14:08. So that's the end of your match. Best match of the night, easily.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and not even just, I guess, because it had the violence and all that sort of stuff. I just think the quality of wrestling was way higher than anything. You know, it was like a fun match to watch, like for sure. You know, and had charismatic wrestlers and things like that. And you can see that early. You know, it's a shame, obviously, what happened to Justice Payne, because you can definitely see between him and Nick Gage, they're both, like, there's something there. You know, they're not just these guys who can take a light tube to the head. They actually know what they're doing. They actually care about the craft.
Yeah.
And, yeah, just a real cut above what had come before.
It's like one of those things where, like, you know, every hardcore wrestler would say, oh, I could go to WWE, but I fucking love CZW.
Yeah.
And you're like 90% of you are like, no, you couldn't go to WWE. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
These two are guys, I don't know about WWE per se, especially in a time where they were more stringent than ever. So I'm excited to see where they go from here. But
yeah, for sure.
Right after the match, Gage gets on the microphone, and he's famous for this. Like, since the very beginning of CCW, he will always end the show with the promo, even if it's just like, oh, fuck you. Like, blah, blah, blah. But this one, he was like saying, everyone, I want to hear CC fucking W, and gets the chant going. And then he's like, Lobo, you and me, next month in a ladder match. And everyone's like, oh. And he's like, but at the top, we're going to put that staple gun you just used on me. So it's a staple gun on a pole ladder match, essentially. Not on a pole, but, you know, a staple gun ladder match. And I don't know, what do you think of the staple gun as a weapon, by the way? Like, for me, it's so, like, not, like, light tubes are great because even if they don't hurt, they're so visual that you're like, holy fuck. Staple guns are almost the opposite, where I imagine they hurt like shit, and it's not that visually appealing. Like,
no, I think it's just, I think it's a weapon that gives a good excuse to like have a lot of blood coming out and things like that. Like you need that sort of thing.
I don't know if they'll do this next week, but I thought what made the staple gun is when guys started stapling like dollar bills to do.
Oh yeah, piece of paper, yeah, because that's funny as well.
Because then you're like, well, now it works. That's not a problem.
Now we can't see as well and things like that. You know, it's like a double whammy. But yeah, I don't know. It's okay. I think the thing with staple guns is like, I don't know. I think it does, for me, it feels quite visceral. Like, I don't know, just getting like a staple in your head like feels quite visceral and just like, that doesn't belong there, that staple. Like, that shouldn't be there.
Well, that brings us to our end of the show. The show goes off air with Nick Gage attacking the ring announcer. And knowing Nick Gage, I think this was totally, like, not discussed beforehand. He was just in the moment and fucking clocked the guy. And then, the ring announcer announces the show next month, and then a feeble CZW chant can be heard as you call off the air. So that was CZW. What is it called here? I said it off the top. Opening night. I mean, that's
that's I can't believe I forgot that.
Yeah. What was your overall rating? I like a rating out of 7 as opposed to 10. It really makes you make a decision there. So if you had to rate this show out of 7, where would you go? And then I'll tell you mine.
I mean, probably a 1.5. Like you are really making me use the metrics there, the whole spectrum. Yeah, I couldn't give it more than that because that 1.5. 0.5 belongs to Kingpins, and then the 1 belongs entirely to the main event. So.
The Kingpins get a shout out.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to see where they're going to go next, too, by the way, because they must be challenging for the titles soon, I mean.
Surely.
I overall rating 1 out of 7 on this. I have written here, and this is my fresh thoughts from when watching the show. Atrocious show front to back. Painfully amateur, even for a small indie show. Some of the worst production you've ever seen.
Yeah.
In any show, I've never seen production. If you were to go over the things this card is missing, you're like commentary, context. There's no context to any of these matches. No reason why are people walking into this company as champions? What do the belts mean?
Yeah.
What are the rules?
It is a wild one to have put on as your first thing that you're releasing to the public, sort of like selling and things like that.
But I will say, if you want a positive, there's nowhere to go from here but up. So,
and that main event is fun and shows, some springs of hope.
I think there's no way the next card can be worse than this card. And that's
it's always shown improvement, right? And you kind of like go from there, and hopefully all the wrestlers have rappers introducing them.
I think that'll be a common thing, probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was CCW opening night. If you like the podcast, keep on listening. From Jordan Ducharme and Ben Stead, thank you for listening, and we'll be back at you next week.